Okay, so this is where we left off last time. We were talking about the component parts of a web page, which is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So the first thing we're going to jump into is HTML. And as I said before, it's just basically the information that's on the page. So everything that you want to convey to the users of the website is going to be inside of what we call HTML. So the first things first, every single web page is in what we call HTML, as I said. And for you to write HTML first, you have to create a HTML file. So it's kind of like a text file, like a TXT file, but the extension is going to be .html. So at the moment, VS Code, well, it's not really a save file at the moment. So what the first thing we're going to do is just save this file. And you can save it anywhere, just save it somewhere that you can retrieve it afterwards. I've already created a folder. So I'm just going to call this index.html and save that. And then what VS Code will do for you, or if you've got another a text editor, what it will do for you is once it knows it's HTML, it will start giving you syntax highlighting. And what that is basically it will start giving you pretty colors for different things. So if we do HTML here, and then if we do body here, but then if we do something like ID equals hello, then you can see it's kind of different colors. And we'll go into exactly what all of this stuff is, but yeah, once you've given it a .html extension, you're gonna get syntax highlighting, and yeah, we're pretty much ready to go in terms of building out our page. So before we do that though, there's just two things that all HTML is comprised of. So the two things are elements, which are also, sometimes they're referred to as tags. So let me write that down. So elements. Let's bump this font size up a tiny bit. Make it easier to read. Let's make it 22. Let's see if that's big enough. Yeah, that looks right. So we have elements, and then we have attributes. So what an element is basically it's yeah, we'll call these tags as well, so we can put slash tags. But all it is really is just the type of tag, the type of thing you want to put on the page. So what kind of things do we have? We have paragraphs. We have anchors. We have sections. We have what else do we have? We've got tables, etc., etc., etc. So when we've got as you go along, you'll find out different types of elements that you can have, and then depending on what you're trying to do, you're going to choose a specific element for that. So if you wanted to put a bunch of text, then you're going to probably want to use a paragraph tag. If you want to put a link to another page or one of your other pages on your website, then you're going to want to use what we call an anchor. So it doesn't look, you can't just type tables or paragraphs or sections straight into the HTML. What it looks like is if we were, for example, to do a paragraph, it's actually just a p tag. What most HTML elements have is they have an opening tag and then a closing tag. So VS Code didn't really get to show you the closing tag myself. VS Code has like an auto complete. So once you open a tag, it's gonna assume that you're gonna want to close it at some point. So it just gives you that closing tag. So this would be the opening tag here. So it's just an open angular bracket, the name of the tag, which in this case is P for paragraph, and then a closing angular bracket, and then an opening again, a forward slash to basically say that this is a closing tag, P again, and then a closing bracket. So, and then inside you put your content. So this is some it's not spelled right, paragraph text, paragraph, that's right. And that's pretty much it. That is a HTML element right here. So literally, then this, you get kind of like you have to follow these rules of doing an open and close angular bracket, the name of the tag, whatever you want to put inside, and then basically and then a closing tag as well. So that will be a paragraph and an anchor. So if you wanted to have a link that links, have like a link on your page that takes the user somewhere else, then what we do is we have a anchor tag, and that is just literally a, and then we just we can have, say for example, if I want our link to say click me, we can do that, and then what will appear on the page is like a text, click me. Once you click it, it'll take you somewhere. It won't quite take you somewhere yet because we need to add something special to this anchor tag, which we'll go through in a second. But that's the general idea. This is the element that you need, the anchor element. And similar kind of thing for section. So section is like it's basically like a container, so it helps you divide up your page into sections. So we might have like a section at the top that holds the header. Might have another section in the middle, which holds like so this is going to be like header here. This is going to be body, and then we might have another section at the bottom, which is going to be the footer. So section is just basically a container, what we call a container element. So it just helps you divide up your page into parts, and then you put basically other tags inside. So we don't just put like header, you could put like a paragraph inside here which says I am inside the header, like that. So yeah, that's what section is. What was the last one we had? It was table. So you can use a table tag to basically, if you want to display anything in like a table format, then you're gonna put it in a table. And there's like other elements that you have to use with it when you open and close a table tag. So you'd have to have, I think you can have a T head, which is basically what's going to appear at the top of the table, and then like a T body, which is going to be what's going to appear in the bottom of the table. And then you can have, if I'm remembering correctly, you can have table row, which is a row of data, and then you can have TD, which is table data, and so on and so on. So basically, it's just you kind of learn this as you go along. A great resource while we're here is MDN. So if you're unsure of any element that you come across, or you just want to find out, okay, what is the element I need to do this type of thing, you can usually find it in MDN. So I'm just going to put table element, and probably the top result is going to be MDN, which is stands for Mozilla Development Network, I think. So yeah, there we go. So this is the website I'm talking about. So it'll basically take you to this website. What does it stand for? Anyway, we'll find out another time. But I'm sure it's Mozilla Developer Network. But yeah, so as you can see here, similar to what we had over here. So we have the open and closing table tag. We have T head, and then we put whatever we want to appear in the top of the table, which is over here. So this is that table header that is here. And then we have T body, which is going to be again another set of rows with data inside. So you've got one row here in T body with two kind of TDs, which is like cells. One that says the table body, and one that says with two columns. So that is the table tag. So those are just a couple of tags. We're going to go through a lot more tags as we go along, and it's kind of like a need to know basis. So when you need something, you'll probably find out about that element and start using it. So it's not really something that you have to memorize or like get worried that, oh, I don't know all the tags that there are. I don't know all the tags that there are, but you know, as you go along, you'll start to kind of, your bread and butter, you're always going to need a paragraph tag, you're always going to need like a section, and a couple of others that are quite like everyday use, and then there's some specialized ones that you kind of pick and choose when you need to use them. So that is elements / tags, also known as tags, and then the second part is something called attributes. So with this example, what I want to pull up is the link, the anchor tag that we talked about earlier, and essentially what an attribute is basically it just basically gives you more information about the element. So an element is kind of what you want to display on the page, and then an attribute is going to give you a little bit more information about that. So how does that work? So this is an anchor tag, right? So it's going to take, when the user clicks this, it's going to take them somewhere. But where is it going to take them to? we haven't really specified, okay, take me to www.google.com or whatever website you want to take them to. So what we have to do is inside of the opening tag, and that's important. So always an attribute always goes inside the opening tag of an element. What we have to do is inside the opening tag, we add something like, we add the href. So the href attribute for an anchor tag basically specifies where you want to link to. So if we wanted to link to google.com, we'd say http://www.google.com. And that's it. So it's that simple. Now, when we click on this link that says click me with an exclamation mark, it's going to take us to google.com, and that's because we've supplied this href attribute, which, but as I said, it gives you more information about an element, and it always follows the same pattern. So it's always the name of the attribute, an equal sign, and then the value of the attribute in quotes. And that's pretty much, is pretty much it. It's always going to follow this format. So that's one attribute. I'm trying to think of some more attributes that there are. Say for example, there's a HTML tag, which we'll go into in a second, and another attribute for that is, I think it's lang. I think there's a lang attribute where you can set it to en. And that is going to, for your HTML page, it's going to say what language is it in. So you could do en, you could do es, or depending on what language you're trying to convey that this web page is in. So that's another attribute, and we'll come across attributes as and when we go along, and you'll kind of pick them up when you need to. Some elements, as you can see, like section, don't need any attributes. But then there's other elements like the anchor tag, which always need this href attribute. Yeah, so some elements is optional, you don't have to supply an attribute, and then some elements is required, and then you kind of mix and match in between. So say for example, section, we could also add the lang attribute as well. So there's a few other attributes that you can add to elements to kind of give it that extra information. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's elements and tags. So, as I said, every single web page is made up of, the HTML is made up of elements and tags. Elements is just what you want to see on a page. The actual, do you want a table? Do you want a section? Do you want a, do you want a paragraph? Do you want a link, etc., etc.? What do you actually want to see? And let's go through maybe some of these just so we can see. So like we didn't really talk about a list, but this is a list element here, and we'll go through, as we go through more examples, we'll go through exactly how to create a list. But this would be a list element. So with this would be another type of kind of just a vertical list. This is going to be probably, let's have a look actually. What is this? So this is a span element. As you can see here, we didn't talk about div, but div again probably should have spoken about that instead of section. But div again is just like your basic container. So it doesn't actually do anything special, but it just helps you to section up your page into little kind of parts in the same way that section does. Section and div, section is div, if that makes sense. So div is like the basic container, and then section is like a slightly what we call more semantic version of div, because div doesn't mean anything, right? But then what they've done in the latest version of HTML, they've created all these, instead of just having like a div, they've created all these what we call semantic elements. So div is pretty unsemantic. So let's say how do you spell unsemantic? Unsemantic. And then to make it more semantic, we have div in a few different flavors. So it's exactly the same thing, works exactly the same way, but we have one called section. We have one called footer. So we have one for header. We have one for aside. We have one for article. Yeah, finally got it. And I'm trying to think, there probably is a couple of more, but those are kind of some good examples. So it works exactly the same as how a div works, in that it just contains other elements, but it kind of makes a bit more sense. So like if you look at the HTML, if you have like a screen reader that is reading your page, or if you have if you're just looking at your code and you just want to automatically know, okay, what does this refer to, using like a footer instead of a div is going to make more sense. If it's just at the bottom of the page, it contains all your kind of footer like information, it's better to use footer than just a div. And the same thing with header, aside an article, like just describing different parts of your page and how you might use them, and the same with sections. So you can use them pretty much how you like, but yeah, just bear in mind that we have these container elements that are pretty much the same as a div, but just kind of have a slightly better meaning in terms of what they actually do. So yeah, so as I said, you can see in the, oh, by the way, this is Chrome Developer Tools. So if you want to open Chrome Developer Tools, you can right click on your mouse and then click inspect, and it takes you to, it opens up this Chrome Developer Tools, and it basically just shows you the website's code, so the HTML of the website. So we can see here we've got, as we spoke about before, we've got all these different elements. So we're going to go through exactly what the basic structure of a HTML page is, but just on the elements and attributes level, you can see that we've got like an opening HTML element. Priors, for anyone who can answer me what this is going to be a attribute, right? So it's going to give you a little bit more information about the element, and this is a lang attribute, which is going to give you, it's just basically saying that this is in American English. We also have a dir attribute, and what that is it just stands for direction, and it just says, okay, what, this web page, what direction does the text run in? Does it go from left to right? Does it go from right to left? And obviously it's in English at the moment, so it's going to go from left to right. But if it was like in Arabic, then the value of this would be RTL, right to left. So it would go the complete opposite way that it is now. We have a head attribute, head element, body element. We have a list. This is an unordered list UL. We're going to learn about that later. We have header, which is, again, we just spoke about header over here. It's just a div, so it's just a container for more elements, but it just has a bit more meaning. So yeah, it's just a container and other elements, but it's like your header type stuff is going to sit in here. We have main, which is another one I missed out of our semantic elements. So main is also one. And main, as you can kind of probably guess from the name, is just you kind of use to like house the main content, right? So your headers are going to be at the top. That's going to be the top information, this stuff here. You can see as I highlight the element in the web page, you can see it being highlighted. Main is going to be the middle section, so the main content. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, it's a really long page, you're going to see footer, and that's going to be all your footer information. So as I said before, these are all kind of container, header, main, footer are all kind of container elements, and they're going to hold other elements. So we've got div, which is your basic container. We've got our anchor, our link here, and that trusty here I never know how to pronounce that. It's some people say href. That sounds a bit weird though. But you got your href attribute, which points to exactly where you want to link to. So this is going to link to /enus. We have another div container. We've also got form, which we haven't spoken about, form element, and a few other elements. So we're not going to go through the whole page, but you kind of get the idea. Yeah. So that is what kind of makes up a HTML page. As you can see here, we've had a look at this MDN website. We had a look at the code, the HTML that makes up the website, and you can see what we've discussed, the elements and attributes. And in the next video, we're going to get into the basic structure of a HTML page, and we're going to use the elements and attributes and actually kind of build something out and have a look at it in the browser.